Okay, so you've decided that it is time to give something up. You're wondering, how am I supposed to deal with these cravings? How am I supposed to handle them in a way that I don't compromise my goal, but I also deal with these so that they don't keep happening over and over again? Let's dive in. So I have a couple steps for you guys. It usually ends up kind of adding a couple steps along the way, but it averages out to about 5 steps within steps. So the first is to accept that cravings are part of the process. I think a lot of times we guilt or shame ourselves when we start to have cravings, and we're like, oh, I wish I was over this, or, I wish I'd never gotten into this in the first place. And we get caught in that guilt loop, and that just leads us to a darker place of shame where we would just want to hide and, give back into that temptation. So just accept that cravings are part of the process. It is entirely normal. You are not a robot. You are a human being, and you're dealing with real emotions. You're dealing with real issues that are going on around you, and now you're learning a new skill. You are learning ways to deal with them and create a new normal for yourself. And that is to be applauded. That is to be celebrated. There is nothing shameful in dealing with cravings. You have made the choice to grow stronger, and you're doing that by watching this video and by being proactive about what you need to do for yourself, okay? Second, remind yourself of why this is so important to you, and this is twofold. One, I want you to be aware of the pain that you're avoiding right now. What is the pain that issue leads to for you? What has happened in the past? Just think about that just for a second. I don't want you to dwell on it too much, because I do feel that where we focus is where we end up. So I want you to think about it short term and say, you know what? I really did not like that place where I was, and I will do anything not to go back there. Now, I want you to turn your attention to where you want to be in the future. Look at that future self and really focus on embracing what that would look like. What would my future self do in this situation? How would they respond? How would they move forward? What would they do or act on? If I'm living that higher self, if I'm living that future self out in this moment and in this instance. So yeah, keep your attention and your focus on that rather than the pain that you're avoiding. But it is important to be aware of it, just so that we realize, oh yeah, that's definitely not where we want to go. And that's about it. Okay, so that's the first two. The next one is to address the actual need, and I would definitely recommend journaling this, writing it down so that you can talk to a professional about it later. But you may also be somebody who likes to verbally process, and so I would encourage that as well. Whatever it is that you feel you need to do, but yeah, journaling, discussing it with a friend or a mentor, somebody that you can rely on who is going to give you good sound support. Not necessarily advice, but will listen to and be able to help you process and make the choices that are right for you. So again, advice can get a little iffy because they may tell you things that are not necessarily in your best interest. They may be their perspective on it. So journaling it and then speaking to a professional about it, that can be really helpful. There are a couple of things that I want you to journal/discuss. One is, what is the root of the needs what is the root of what you are avoiding? And the way that we find the root of what you're avoiding is by looking at whatever you're dealing with, this addiction or this negative coping mechanism, what are you using that for? So for instance, to simplify it, I think I swirled it up there in my words, but to simplify it, say for instance, it's alcohol, and you are avoiding drinking alcohol. And for you, alcohol has led to being more comfortable with friends and making better relationships because you're like, oh, I can be loosey-goosey, I can be myself. And you feel like you can only be that way with alcohol. Or maybe you also feel like it relaxes you and helps you to just decompress when you're stressed. And those are the needs that you're trying to fill. One, you want to learn how to communicate and connect in relationships and be yourself around people and not need alcohol to do it. Or maybe you need to start, your root need is that you need to look for things to de-stress you and things to help you to calm down and help you to relax. So whatever it is that you are using that substance for is going to be what the root need that you need to discover and really dig into. So you can journal process this and really think about, what is it that I'm using this for? What is it that I'm ultimately seeking in doing this behavior? Because addiction, it really is serving some kind of need. And once we address that, then those cravings become less and less, because there's less and less need to pretend or cover up or numb out whatever it is that we're trying to avoid the pain of. So yeah, next thing I want you to journal or discuss is the strengths that you have, or the strengths that you have used in the past in the situation. So when I say the strengths that you have, this can apply to any situation. So say for instance that you are a mom or a CEO, or well, let's use mom for example. I don't know why I'm using mom, I'm not a mom, but you are a mom and you are using alcohol to de-stress and to relax at night. And you use it to unwind. Take for instance when you wanted to go on vacation last year and you were like, I need to lose weight before I go on this vacation. And you were really well disciplined and you didn't give in to alcohol, you didn't give in to sugar, you turned down cookies and you were like, nope, I am doing this, I am getting it done. And at the end of that week, before vacation or that month or whatever it was, and again, you can only lose 1 to 2 pounds a week in a healthy fashion. Just a tidbit there. But say, for instance, that you were really disciplined during that time and you felt the accomplishment of those results. And then, now you're really struggling with that self-discipline in those areas and you're giving into the temptations more. You learned something even in that short increment of a week. You practiced the art of saying, no, this is not what I want. This is not for the greater good. This is not for the best for my body and for my mind. And you were able to say no. So we need to draw on those strengths and apply them to this new situation. And once you dive in deeper to why was that so important to you and what's going to be your motivation and your reason why you're doing this in the future, then that can help to drive you forward as well. And also practice more of the skills that worked during that week. What did you do different? Did you wake up earlier? Did you make sure that you had plenty of vegetables in the fridge? Did you clean out the house of all the desserts and say, nobody's bringing anything in here? I am definitely just not even having it around this week. What did you do that was really helpful? So that's going to help to keep you on track. Also, I find that a lot of times we know what we should do, but we have a hard time giving the advice to ourselves. And so I want you to think about if your best friend was going through this, and you know how I feel about advice. I don't really think that, say for instance your best friend is exactly like you. If you were your best friend, what would you need to say to your best friend in order for them to take action or, do something different? So for instance, like if you're really struggling with alcohol and you're like, I'd want to tell my best friend that that he can talk to me about anything and he can open up, because you realize that inner need is to actually open up and to be honest about things. So just kind of reflecting it to yourself and saying, if I were listening to me, if I were talking to me, what advice would I give myself? And it kind of switches it on its head. Or picture if it was your daughter or your son that said whatever it is that you're saying and feeling whatever you're feeling, how would you recommend that they go forward? And then apply that to yourself and start to turn that around, because I do believe you know what you need to do. in this situation. And yes, we can come up with all sorts of tools to help add to your toolbox, but I think internally there's just this knowledge, this depth, and we try to look for external sources to say, this is what I need. And, it can help to trigger us, and it can help us to train us and learn and educate us. But I still believe that inner need is, or that inner knowledge is there, that you really do know what you need in this situation. And we just sometimes have to quiet ourselves enough to really listen to our bodies and listen to our minds to know what it is that we need. So with that being said, that's the next thing, is to listen to your inner need and feed that. So address that actual issue, the root issue, and create or keep a handy list of things that you're trying and things that you want to try in the future, as far as like coping skills during this time, because this is, maybe you need a distraction. Maybe you just need to take your mind off it. And what I find with a lot of things is that we just need a bit of time to get used to it. For instance, with nutrition, if you're craving sugar and you're craving sweets, you're craving bread or gluten, dairy, you're having any of those cravings, if you are away from them for long enough, then your body adjusts and it gets used to not having it, and it starts to crave the things that you're actually feeding it. It starts to crave good things. And I think once, we definitely can't ignore that. So distracting yourself during that time as your body is just physically adjusting to what it actually needs is going to help a lot, because like I said, those cravings will start to go down. So maybe you just need distraction right now. Maybe you just need to go somewhere else and do something that brings you joy, or talk to a friend, call somebody on the phone. Whether you need to process it or just talk about anything, talk about anything else. That can also be very, very helpful. So distract, and as you are able, try to address that need either in journaling or hopefully also with processing it with someone. And finally, always be a student. So I think that actually ends up being like a lot of different points. But the final one is just to always be a student, always keep trying to learn and keep trying to grow. I know this is a frustrating process, and I know maybe especially in this moment, you're like, I am really struggling with these cravings and they're really frustrating, and maybe even what I've shared has been like inadequate for what you need. You're like, I needed more, and I apologize for that. But you also need to find it within yourself. You need to find what's going to work for you. So look up your specific needs. So how to deal with anxiety with, using apps or using some kind of calming techniques. Meditations are hugely powerful. Taking a bath, going for a run, doing something that relaxes you and brings you joy, whether that's art or dancing or cooking or reading or watching a movie even. Whatever it is that you need to do in this time, just always be a student and try different things until it finally works. And keep in mind, if you give into this craving, I also want you to understand this is still a growth process. This is still an opportunity to grow. Tomorrow, when you come back at it, I want you to say, okay, that happened. Now, what are we going to do about it so that it doesn't happen again? What can we do to keep moving forward? Because like I said in the beginning, accept the cravings and accept that they are part of the process. And no matter what you do and no matter what you choose in this moment, just know that you always can use this as an opportunity to grow past it. And the more you keep that growth mindset, the more that you will make progress, and the stronger that you'll become, and the more resilient that you'll become through this process. And that's the goal. We need to build up your resilience through patience and perseverance and determination, sticking with it even when it's hard. I know that's really hard to hear, but you will make it. You'll get out of this. And I am so proud of you for taking this step for yourself. So hang in there. You got my email address down in the description section. So let me know if there's any way that I can be supporting you during this time. And And I also have a bunch of different things down in the description section, so make sure you check those out. And subscribe, like this if it's helpful for you. New episodes arrive every Thursday, so definitely tune back in next week or hit subscribe so that you do get notified. And as always, comment below with anything that any questions for the benefit of anybody watching, or if it's private, then definitely shoot me an email through my email address. So I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Bye.